morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and love. Good, good, good morning, sun. Good, good, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and love. Good, good, good morning, sun. Good morning, life. Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and love. Good morning, sun. Good morning, sun. Good morning, life. Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and in love. Good morning, sun. Good morning, sun. Good morning, life. Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and love. Good morning, sun. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and love. Good
And good morning. Let's see if all this is working after a week away. Do we have audio? Yes. Okay. Good morning. Let's pour some coffee here. Okay. Yes, that was my failed attempt at whatever that's called, ASMR. Good morning. Having some technical difficulties. I had to solve 3 continuous Google CAPTCHAs, I guess. I think they're Google, where you click on the image and then it keeps substituting a new image. You have to keep clicking. And apparently I was not human because I failed the first 2 and I had to do 3 of them. I had to do crosswalks, stoplights, and buses. And it's too early for that. So anyway, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Wow, what a week. What a week. In case you hadn't heard, there was a conference in Houston, Texas. And I don't know if I've ever been to Houston. I've been to a client in Texas. I don't even remember what city it is. It might have been Austin. Honestly, I can't remember. They were right next to the airport. It was a blur. I think it was 2 days there and I flew out. So I'll say that this is my first time visiting Houston. Interesting city, some very different stuff than what I'm used to, but I only got to see downtown, which seemed nice. Kind of typical conference convention-ish downtown scene, but very nice. And I stayed in the Hilton Hilton Americas, I think they call it, which was very nice. And also at the other end of the convention center was the Marriott, beautiful hotel as well, some very nice restaurants. So it was fun. I will admit I was pretty anxious going to this because I had no idea what to expect. And I know there were several people, quite a few people who canceled, some a couple weeks in advance, some at the last minute, like 48 hours before the conference started. Some people canceled, and some of those were partners and ISVs and speakers. So there were slots that were filled at the last minute. I was fortunate enough to be able to fill or help with 2 of those. So it turned out okay. I had no plans to present anything there. I was just going to go and see what it was like. But it turned out well and got to meet some people. So yeah, it was, I think, given where we're at, I think it was a success. It was kind of weird. I showed up on Tuesday afternoon, and there were sessions there, but it was kind of weird. It's like people hadn't showed up. So there were like 12 people roaming this gigantic convention center. And we were thinking, what's going on here? It was kind of weird. It was kind of like scary, creepy vibe, but then by end of day Tuesday or late afternoon Tuesday, and certainly on Wednesday, things really picked up and there were a lot of people. I don't know how to estimate people, but based on the number of box lunches on the carts and people grabbing them, wild guess, at least 1,000 people is like certainly more than a few hundred, probably less than 3,000. But yeah, it was a good crowd. Let's put it that way. The session rooms were full, good attendance. So I think, I think it turned out well, and I think it was a success for where we're at. And the expo hall, the conference hall or convention hall where all the ISVs have booths or the partners have booths, lots of booths, lots of people walking around, very festive. So it was good. It was good. So I had fun. And my anxiety or concern level for attending another conference is much, much lower. The travel was an absolute hassle, but that has nothing to do with the conference. So, and thank you to the folks on the Business Central Planning Committee. I heard they had to work very hard in order to pull things together. I totally understand. Finding content, finding speakers, getting everyone to travel, managing the logistics, the scheduling, and who does what must have been crazy. So hats off to these folks, did a great job. There were a ton of sessions, Business Central sessions. I mean, so many, you're sitting there scrolling on the app, just like, wait, I just want to get to 11 o'clock. Where's 11 o'clock? There were just well over 100. I'm looking at 146, which I'll show. So hats off. And just for reference, there were so many people there and the convention center was so big. I heard that AJ Ansari was at the conference. I literally never saw him. I don't know I don't know who else was there, but I only saw some of these people. So that gives you an idea. So I think I did see John Kirsch. I think I saw Kim Dallafeld. I saw Meenakshi. I saw Rob. And I met Stephen Chinsky. So many of the people I never even saw. There were so many people roaming around. But thank you to the planning committee. I know it's a lot of work. They pulled it off. Great job. Awesome content. Just ton of content. There were every single hour, there were many sessions that I wanted to attend simultaneously. I couldn't, but there were also essentially the same topic covered by different speakers in different time slots. So the Business Central CRM internal functionality, and then the Business Central Dynamics 365 CE/sales/CRM, that was also covered. So I was able to go to different sessions at different time slots. So that was cool. So thumbs up to them. Cheers. Good job. Excuse me. Strong coffee. So, It was a good conference. We got to hang out just like old times. And let me see if I can do this slide again. I missed it all. So I got to see Kristen and Shannon, and I got to see Matt Traxinger. I hope if I got that right. Matt Traxinger had a great session on BC test automation. Here, not a good design on my slides here. There we go. Oh boy. Okay, note to self, don't do this type of overlapping animation anymore. So Shannon Mullins and I got to present, by filling a time slot, we got to present our session that we've done before about Microsoft 365 and Teams integration with Business Central. And I think it's a fantastic session, if I do say so myself, not because we're the best presenters in the world, but because it's awesome content and it's such an easy win for Business Central customers and partners, and just the value you get out of those integrations is phenomenal. So really, I think it's a valuable session, and I think the people who attended had a good time. And then Tanya Henderson had a great session on Power BI financials. How she has created full-on financial statements in Power BI and how that works. And I think I'm messing everything up. So anyways, tons of great sessions, really enjoyed them. I haven't attended a conference in many years to actually attend and sit in the sessions. So it's kind of a nice break for me to be able to sit back and learn something rather than have to run around presenting. So really good time. And what else? Anything else here? No, basically, it worked out well. Had some great sessions, just like your conference. Very enjoyable. Okay. And as you can see here, 146 Business Central Nav sessions. So filtered up at the top there. And one of those was by the awesome Meenakshi Singh, and she talked about bank reconciliations in Business Central. She also did a session with Kristen Hausman about managing credit card transactions in Business Central, and I believe that's in the context of entering them as bank transactions, if I'm not mistaken. Not really my area of expertise, but she had two great sessions, but tons of sessions. Wow, excuse me. Okay, so let's just, I disappeared. Okay, so here we go. I mean, this is what we were scrolling through, so it was really great. Now, I think, I haven't looked into it, nearly all sessions were recorded, at least they tried to. There were some technical difficulties, but so it broadcast has ended, so these should be recorded, but I think you need to have a different subscription or pass or purchase something else in order to see the recordings, because I do not have the elite double platinum gold stamp pass to see the recordings apparently. But this is what just on and on. Christoph did inventory in Business Central, remotely, of course. And let's see, Microsoft Teams. And it just goes on and on. And this is just, So lots of great sessions. Anyway. Okay, moving on. I got to meet some people for the first time. And if you are on Twitter, you know that you meet people on Twitter and you get to know them, and then you finally meet them in person. It's pretty cool. I've met a lot of people that way. And so I got to meet Stephen Chinsky for the first time at the conference. And it was great. It was just like, hey, how's it going, Steve? We just hung out and started talking like, as if we kind of knew each other. It was quite weird and funny, but totally normal these days. And he's like, yeah, I watch your, whatever your silly coffee show is. And, when I'm doing work, I'll pop you up in a monitor. I was like, oh, cool. I have no idea how everyone watches this. So it was weird to get that feedback. And I got to meet Meenakshi Singh for the first time as well. And she is with Carrie Roswell Peters there. And if you don't know Carrie, she is fantastic. She does Business Central Nav training through her company, New View Strategies. Fantastic training, which I have taken myself years ago. So yeah, it was fantastic. And shout out to Chuck from Philly, who spotted me in the airport. I'm wearing a mask. I'm behind a laptop, just chilling in a lounge chair in a hallway with live jazz being played at the Houston airport, which was really cool. And he's walking through the hallway terminal. And he's like, "Hey, Steve, how's it going?" And he says, "Hi." So nice to meet you, Chuck. That was pretty cool. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. Got to meet people, had a good time. I saw a few longtime customers there, Dynamic GP customers who spotted me and said hi. So that was really neat. And yes, I fell off an escalator. I don't know if I've really fallen on an escalator before, but I took a dive, I must say. And it was due to a Coke shortage, a critical Coke Zero shortage at the Houston Convention Center. I did alert the authorities. It was a crime. There were scenes of empty vending machines. It was like crime scenes everywhere. I mean, we needed yellow tape on those vending machines because when we started the conference, these were all fully stocked with Coke Zero. These 4 meager slots, I know. It was like, bread lines in the Coke industry. And after 2 days, every single Coke Zero was gone. Every other slot was nearly full. The top shelf of, normal Coke, Diet Coke, plenty of that, Sprite, Dr. Pepper, everything else, plenty of that. Zero Coke Zero, as it were. Coke Zero, what a name. Who would have thought? So I am having to walk miles. There must have been 10 vending machines in this giant convention center. 3rd floor, I don't know if there were any vending machines, so I went down to 2nd floor, and it's like 2 miles long. So you're walking back and forth looking at all the vending machines, all empty. I'm like, fine. So I go down to the 1st floor. I'm walking, find one. I grab one of the last Coke Zeros from this vending machine. I go back up. And they have these giant escalators. These are like 30-foot tall floors, and the escalator goes all the way up. Well, the escalator was not working. It was turned off, the up escalator. So I'm like, okay. And I don't know if you've ever walked on a stopped escalator. The lines, the parallel lines on the steps as you're walking. For some reason, when it's moving, it's not a big deal. But when it's stopped, those lines create this weird optical illusion, and it's like, whoa, and there's a weird depth perception. It's really wild. So I'm like, okay, I pause and I take the first step and the foot falls, and you're like trying to figure out how to walk on these things. So I'm walking, I'm like doing good. I'm holding my Coke Zero and I'm like oblivious. I get to the last step. Everything's fine. That last step, my toe catches on the last step. And trivia, there have actually been numerous scientific and medical studies determining the depth versus height ratio of stairs. And they have demonstrated that even a slight variation in stair height, I'm sure there's a word like pitch or something like that, slight variation of step height will cause people to trip. When you're walking upstairs, if it's, say, a 5-inch height, then your brain just immediately adjusts, your nervous system adjusts to that 5-inch height. And if they make a stair 5.5 inches, it will get people to trip with like 90% consistency. And they have videos of this, like watching people trip on this one step. It's actually kind of like cruel, but it's a well-known like medical, physiological, neurological phenomenon. So here I am, made it all the way up this 30-foot escalator. The last step, my toe catches. And I'm holding on to the Coke Zero. I'm not going to let this thing go. Like, I just walked 5 miles to get this thing, of course. I'm an idiot. So rather than let go and like fall gracefully or smartly and take the impact, no. I've got to hold on to this Coke like it's a newborn baby. And so I'm like, okay, Houston, we have a problem. I'm tripping, and I'm like, okay, what's wrong here? I'm going down. I start to turn into it to my right side. Got to protect that Coke like a football. I'm going for the touchdown. And I'm like, okay, I need to try to deal with this and correct and prevent it. Well, about halfway down, my brain's doing the calculations. It's doing the math. It's like, yeah, this isn't going to end well, and there's no recovery. So I'm like, okay, let's roll with it. So I just go all in, and I just roll right into it. And I just slam onto my hip and my leg. And then, like, I'm still trying to hold back and like, control the loss to my dignity here. But eventually I just gave up and said, okay, let's go for it. I'm all in. And I just sprawled across the floor on my back. It was just like, imagine coming off a diving board and just sliding across the floor. Apparently, it was quite a scene. I got the attention of two people who looked horrified, like I was just in a car crash or something. And it was entertaining. So it hurt. Let me tell you. And so that is the story of how Coke Zero shortage caused a man to fall off an escalator. What can I say? That's what I'm here for. Speaking of silly things, I thought this was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you've heard the phrase "meme is the message" and memes are taking over the world. I love memes. It's the modern society's take on a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's like a meme is a million words. And so if you didn't see it, Eric Hogard made a video about something like, the most exciting change in Business Central version 19. And he's like, I know this is probably really dumb, and this is just something only I get excited about. But it's a pretty cool thing. So go check out his YouTube video on his channel, Eric Hogard. And Ramin Margi made this meme, absolute brilliant. And it is actually a video GIF on Twitter. And he replied to Eric's video, fantastic, utterly brilliant. So 100 internet points to Ramin for that awesome meme. Really, really clever. So I thought that was great. It was hilarious. So you have made it when you are in memes. So hats off to Eric for being meme worthy. Good job. Cheers. So I have been working on my side project on password cracking. And I got a second video card, or GPU as it were. And so I have a RTX 3070 video card in a new, ostensibly a gaming PC. I haven't yet migrated over to become my desktop. That's the plan, but I've just been too lazy to deal with all the software and configuration and 6,000 wires involved. And so I am working on password cracking. And since I learned that it's using a GPU, I was like, well, okay, well, 2 GPUs is better than 1 GPU, right? So I was able to buy a 3060 Ti, an NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ti. So now I have 2 higher end gaming GPUs in the machine, and it really cranks through the password hashes. And I thought I'd do a test to see how hard it would be to crack my own passwords. Not like my literal passwords for my bank or something like that, but the format of the passwords that I generate using my own passphrase generator. And just one excerpt of my journey here is, this is an example of a word, random word from a 105,000 word list that I use for my passphrases, plus 1 or 2 digits, plus a symbol. Now, in most cases, this would get you by a typical, complex passphrase requirement, right? It's got upper and lower, it's got numbers, and it's got symbols. And in addition, these are not like common words. It's not like password. It's not like, Redskins or 49ers or, Valentine or I love you or the typical passwords. This is like roller76 at Trousseau's 19 exclamation point. Like, these are not your average words, I would say, or the most common words. Algol 79. I don't know where I got this word list, but it's kind of strange words. And I thought, these are moderately complex words. Well, I converted these to NTLM hashes, and this is the password hash used locally on, say, Windows 10 or Windows workstations, desktop servers, whatever. If you create a local user account, this is the format of the hashes. And this is contrived example, so these are not exposed on the internet. Someone's not going to crack these password hashes on your machine or on your Amazon account. So this is contrived, but when security pen testers and security review consultants look at password security, they will access the NTLM hashes on a Windows network, and they will run this type of hashcat password analysis to see how secure these passwords are. That's a common practice, is my understanding. So what does it take to crack these passwords that are in NTLM hash format? Well, it took 6 seconds to crack all of these, in this case, 10 passwords. 6 seconds. So it just went boom, 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 boom. And 6 seconds later, it's like, that's all you got? And so, this is crazy. It appears, if I'm reading the numbers right, it appears to have processed 357 million password combinations in 6 seconds. Now, it had a total domain of 382 million passwords, but since it had found all 10, it just says, okay, I'm done. That was easy. And it didn't even break a sweat on the GPUs. As far as I could tell, the GPUs were literally at like 1% utilization, processing 100 million hashes per second for, combined between the two GPUs, roughly 200 million hashes per second computing power. So that was interesting. Like, if you're relying upon NTLM hashes as your security to obfuscate or secure your passwords, it's game over. Like, by the time they get into your network, if they have access to NTLM hashes, like keys to the kingdom, it's the walls have fallen. So that was interesting. So if NTLM hashes are your way of securing your passwords, boy, you have a challenge. And I read that an 8-character NTLM hash, and this is back in like 2017, could be completely cracked brute force in 2.5 hours, something like that, using a array of GPUs. So really, NTLM, I think you're looking at over 24 characters, 100% random. Do not use words, period. Has to be 100% random string, so it has to be brute force. There is zero dictionary attack permutation. And then maybe you could hold out for a couple days, maybe a week, against a massive cracking array. This is totally contrived. If you're in the real world, there are other difficulties that present themselves before you get to the brute force cracking arena. They have to extract the hashes first. So there are some barriers there. But more on that in the future. So that's what I do in my free time. That's what I was doing last night on Saturday night. So with that, get a password manager, really. If you are remembering your passwords, if you are using the same password in more than one location, stop, please, I beg you. Get a password manager, any password manager. When people say, this one is the best, that one's the best, I use this, these are terrible, this one is the coolest one, this is the open source one, this is what you should be, like, whatever. I don't care. Pick one, You can go to just Google best password manager, and those articles are not very good, but they'll at least give you like 5 or 10 popular ones. Look at 2 or 3, choose one. It doesn't matter. Don't feel bad that you chose this one when someone says this one's better. Just pick one. I don't care. Any password manager is better than no password manager. And if you are remembering any of your passwords, or if you're reusing the same password on multiple sites, you have a problem. Use a password manager that encrypts them, stores them, and allows you to easily use a unique password across every single website or application, such that if you're compromised on one, it doesn't necessarily lead to a compromise on another. And with that soapbox, yeah, have a good one. Hope to see you at a future conference coming up in Anaheim. Is the Dynamics Con live conference. Fingers crossed that registrations are looking good on that and we can move forward and have that conference in person. So have a good weekend. Cheers. I will talk to you later.
Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above, Jeeps great